Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Colonel Andriy Lysenko, Ukrainian National Security and Defense Council Information Center spokesman. Пані і панове, Андрій Лисенко, речник інформаційно-аналітичного центру РНБО.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Вчора на місці падіння літака Boeing 777 малайзійських авіаліній повністю завершені пошукові роботи, під час яких було обстежено територію площаді понад 140 квадратних кілометрів, у тому числі 2,1 квадратного кілометра Грабовського водосховища. Наразі на місці аварії працюють з уламками літака міжнародні експерти. Їх робота ускладнюється тим, що на місці аварії під виглядом цивільних осіб вже попрацювали російські військові експерти. Сьогодні об 11:20 спеціальний потяг Укрзалізниці із тілами загиблих у катастрофі літака Boeing 777 прибув до Харкова. Продовжується наступ українських силовиків на терористів. У результаті успішних боїв звільнено від російських найманців населені пункти Дзержинськ, Солидар Донецької області та Рубіжне, Ювілейний, що на Луганщині. Сили АТО взяли під контроль стратегічно важливий населений пункт Георгіївка у районі Луганська. У ці хвилини триває звільнення Лисичанська від терористів. Там іде зараз дуже запеклий бій. Протягом доби терористи 20 разів атакували блокпости та позиції підрозділів Збройних сил України в районах населених пунктів Дмитрівка, Кам'янка, Камишево, Кумачево, Маринівка, Новоазовськ, Старобішево, Сонцево, Іловайське, Авдіївка, Червонопартизанськ та Луганськ. Окрім того, з території Росії з мінометів були обстріляні позиції сил антитерористичної операції неподалік селища Новоазовськ і Кумачева на Донеччині. Із самохідної артилерії КПП Довжанське Луганської області також близько опівночі на ділянці відділу прикордонної служби Станичне-Луганське Луганської області з території Росії здійснено більше 40 мінометних пострілів по позиціях українських прикордонників. Після цього російська бойова техніка відійшла вглиб території Росії. Близько 4-ї години ночі терористи повторно обстріляли цей прикордонний пункт з установок «Град». На щастя, втрат особового складу там немає. Неподалік селища...
Luckily, there are no losses among Ukrainian bodyguards. A terrorist act was committed at one of the road checks. They exploded a minivan which was packed with explosives, and 3 Ukrainian military people died there. Then next to Novoazovsk, Donetsk region, there was again firing at the checkpoint of Ukrainian military from the territory of the Russian Federation, and Russia continues its military presence along. They increase their presence along the border of Ukraine and troops from Baikal and Far East military district of Russian Federation were redeployed in the vicinity of Sudzha in Rostov region, and they are also deploying the hub of secret communication. In the vicinity of the border point Shevchenkove, our bodyguards found traces of incursion by 14 Grad batteries who fired at Ukrainian positions. We bodyguards have the proof of incursion, and terrorists are systemically ruining the infrastructure. In Luhansk region, they exploded 2 automobile bridges. They also mined another bridge next to Lysychansk shipbuilding plant. They mined the bridge between this village of Voyevodivka and Severodonetsk. They also inflicted damage on two water pipelines next to. They also attacked a electric substation, fired at it from Grad battery, and in connection with this, there's a most complicated situation with energy supply in 5 districts of this region. Indignation rises among local residents with the actions of Russian mercenaries after 3 teenagers were killed by a landmine. The residents of Lysychansk put forward the ultimatum to Russian mercenaries to leave the city by 2 p.m. today. However, the peaceful life is being restored. For instance, Ukrainian railway launched again the train between Luhansk, Kramatorsk, Donetsk, Kramatorsk, and Slavyansk. Over the period of anti-terrorist operation, Ukrainians have collected and channeled almost 137 million hryvnia to support the Ukrainian army, and an entrepreneur from Kolomy, Ivano-Frankivsk region, at his own expense, bought an armored personnel carrier, and another entrepreneur from Dnipropetrovsk transferred his armored vehicle to the Ukrainian army as well. Yesterday, the UN Security Council has unanimously voted for the resolution submitted by Australia, which demands to provide full and unhindered access of experts to the vicinity of the crash, and also to provide for the preservation of proof on the site. And this means the ceasefire in the vicinity of the crash. The leading role was assumed by the Netherlands with the close cooperation from UN and International Civil Aviation Organization. Today in Amsterdam there will be a sitting of ministers for foreign affairs of European Union, together with the participation of the Ukrainian minister, and it will consider the issue of sanctions against Russia. David Cameron, the UK Prime Minister, also made a statement about new sanctions against Russia. They pertain to dual designation goods, and the sanctions will be introduced if Russia does not comply with the demand to provide for the access of experts to the crash site. The Prime Minister of the Netherlands said that political and economical sanctions may be used against those who will hinder the access to the investigation of the crash site. And in this context, he demanded that Russia influences the militants. And today, the Parliament of Ukraine confirmed the decree by President Poroshenko about partial mobilization, which provides for the conditions to manning the units in every branch of the Ukrainian military, and it will last for 45 days. Ukraine's parliament also adopted the text of the statement to counteract the international terrorism supported by the Russian Federation. In particular, the Ukrainian Verkhovna Rada appeals to every nation in the world to make a single front against the international terrorism supported by Russia.
Good morning. John Cookson from
Росії подали докази, показуючи, що біля М-17 був військовий літак. Чи можете ви це прокоментувати? Що перекладіть там хтось.
Те, що
На
We know that Russians made public their understanding of the accident, but these materials can be transferred to the experts of the Special Investigation Commission, and the experts will probably take these materials into account in their work. So we are waiting for the results of the work of the experts. Is the information that in microbus with this explosive there was a person who exploded it basically, and is this information confirmed? And also Tymchuk says that Ukrainian army was shot at from the mortar launcher. Was there such a person suicide in the bus, in this minibus, in this van? We're not sure because there are so little motive for that. Now there are few versions. We do not announce them, but there will be detailed analysis made of that accident, and we will tell about that. As soon as conclusions are made, there will be the case. It was about criminal case. Can you tell what is the situation with the control of the Russian-Ukrainian border? It was informed previously that all the border is under the fire control, but looking at this situation when this grad is moved in dozens to the territory of Ukraine, how can you explain it? There are some places on the border which are fired at from the territory of Russian Federation. That is this most difficult sector, which is only visually controlled. There's both from Ukrainian and Russian sides, they are firing, and there are cases when people or equipment were crossing the border, but there is the information, there has been the information today that in the direction of Lugansk, there was a column of many vehicles. Notice this information hasn't been confirmed. No one crossed the border today. Is that the only difficult sector at the border? All the equipment is taken from that section? No, there are two more. Izvarina, which is shot at all the time. That is the closed cross point, and it's shot at from the Russian Federation. And another cross point, Червоно-Партизанське. These are the most dangerous sections along the border. They are shot at from the territory of Russian Federation. So 3 points, yeah, right? These are most probable places of crossing where militants manage to cross the border. What happens to Ukrainian military who are now on the territory of the hospital in Russian Federation? When will they get back to the territory of Ukraine? We have negotiations on returning our servicemen back to Ukraine. Out of those 17, 2 died. Unfortunately, 1 died yesterday, 1 died the next day. They were brought there to the hospital. 15 guys are still on the territory of Russian Federation. The settlement Gukova, there's the hospital there. Negotiations continue about getting them back. We do not know. We would have returned them now. The Russian Federation doesn't allow to get them back. There's information yesterday that local mass media write that at 12 o'clock in Krasnodar there was a column of military equipment, 24 Urals with and also 21 tanks and armored vehicles, and that's what I meant. This column that you are talking about, its movement hasn't been confirmed, but there's information that from the settlement Popasne, there's the planned movement of vehicles with the terrorists, and as soon as we identify this movement, detect the movement, we will attack it. And also in some places where our troops are offending, they are withdrawing. And also there's news that also phosphorus bombs were used in Lysychansk. I can tell you that Ukrainian army does not have the phosphorus bombs. And can you sum up the information during one last day? Are there only 3 people who perished, and what about the aircrafts? We see videos about some AN aircrafts downed, and then you say that you mentioned one of the settlements, that it's liberated, but Ukrainian army is not there. There are position-type battles going on, and the control is established. Now they are removing the main forces of the enemy, but what's left, they are working with them. As soon as they throw them away of this settlement, only after that they hoist the state flag. As to the aircraft, downed aircraft, every day we watch the information disseminated by media of so-called republics. And they want to show that what they want to happen is happening in reality. They have not downed a single aircraft. All the aircrafts of the armed forces of Ukraine are exercising their tasks, and they are all operating there. As to people killed during the last day, 13 servicemen were killed, and the number of wounded we are still updating.
Антон Триновский, газета Wall Street Journal. Еще поступил сегодня сообщение.
Wall Street Journal, we also have the information that Ukrainian air forces have bombed the site in the vicinity of the city of Shakhtarsk, 30 kilometers away from the crash site of the Boeing. Can you comment on this? I don't know exactly about this, but if this is 30 kilometers from the site of the crash, I must tell you that the combat action zone is 40 kilometers. So you can calculate for yourself. The radius is 20 kilometers. I'm in the zone without any combat action. The diameter is 40 kilometers, so the radius is 20. Novozovsk was fired at by from a small boat, from the sea. Was it the Russian boat? We have information on the firing at the border checkpoint Novozovsk, but we cannot confirm that this was done from the boat. It was from the Russian territory. No questions. Thank you. and we will hear from you again at 5 o'clock p.m.